Are you relying on your SASSA grant for daily essentials, transport, or just getting through the month with peace of mind? Then this video is not something you can afford to miss. The South African Social Security Agency, yes, SASSA, has just released the official grant payment schedule for June, July, and August 2025, but that's not all. Alongside the dates, SASSA has introduced new rules and verification checks that could impact when and even if you receive your payment. So whether you're receiving the old age pension, disability grant, child support, or SRD 350 grant, these updates apply to you. That means millions of South Africans will be affected by this announcement, and understanding these changes ahead of time could save you from missed payments or delays. In this video, we'll break down the exact payment dates for each grant type over the next 3 months so you'll know exactly when your money is coming. We'll also explain what the new rules mean for you, including what documents may now be required, how to avoid disqualification, and what to do if your payment is suddenly on hold. If you've ever faced confusion, long queues, or unexpected grant delays, this video will give you the clarity and control you need moving forward. So before we dive in, do me one quick favor. If this information is helpful to you or to someone in your family, please hit that like button right now. It lets us know you want more updates like this and helps this video reach other South Africans who need it most. Let's get started because your grant security starts right here, right now. All right, now that you're here and ready to stay informed, let's dive into what you really need to know about the SASSA grant schedule and the new rules that have just come into effect. If you've been following these grant updates for a while, you know how quickly things can change. 1 month, everything goes smoothly, and the next you're left wondering why your grant hasn't hit your account. That's exactly why today's update is so critical. We're going to walk through the new timeline from June through August, explain exactly how these payment cycles work now, and most importantly, help you avoid any surprises that could disrupt your grant income. Now, when we talk about payment dates, it's not just about knowing when the money will come. It's about planning your life around that payment. For many South Africans, these grants are the difference between having a decent meal on the table and going to bed hungry. Whether you're a parent relying on the child support grant to feed your kids, an elderly person depending on the older person's grant to manage your medicine and household bills, or a young adult still receiving the SRD 350 to survive post-pandemic unemployment, this money matters more than ever. That's why every detail in the schedule we're about to go through is worth your full attention. So let's start with the obvious question: what are the payment dates for each grant over these 3 months? While SASSA typically tries to follow a pattern, older persons, then disability, then child support, the actual dates vary depending on weekends, public holidays, and internal verification cycles. For June 2025, for instance, payments begin earlier than some might expect, which is why people who aren't checking the latest schedules often end up waiting days longer than necessary, thinking their money hasn't been processed. That's where we come in. In this video, we're not just giving you a chart or a list to screenshot and forget. We're breaking down the logic behind the schedule and the system so that you understand how these dates are chosen and how you can stay one step ahead. Another big concern for many grant recipients has been the sudden rise in pending or on-hold statuses. You check your balance, expecting a payout, and instead you see that your funds are frozen or haven't even been processed. The new rules that SASSA rolled out are aimed at combating fraud and duplicate claims, which is understandable, but in the process, they've added several layers of verification. For example, in some regions, beneficiaries are now required to verify their identity or bank details every few months, especially if there have been any changes in their application history. While the intent is to secure the system, the reality is that thousands of people are getting caught up in these new checks without even realizing why their payments are delayed. And let's talk about the banking issue for a moment. This is something that's affected a huge number of SRD 350 recipients in particular. Many of you registered your bank accounts years ago, and some of those accounts may now be dormant or have different account holder names than your ID. The moment SASSA's system picks up an inconsistency, whether it's a slight spelling difference or an inactive account, your payment gets flagged. They don't call you, they don't text you, you just don't get paid, and you're left wondering what went wrong. This is why it's crucial to ensure that your banking details are 100% accurate and updated directly through the SASSA portal or your nearest office, especially now that stricter controls are in place from June onward. Now, I know many people ask, what happens if I miss a verification or my application gets declined? Do I lose that month's grant forever? The good news is not necessarily. In most cases, if you can resolve the issue within a reasonable period, usually before the next payment cycle, SASSA will include your missed month as a back pay in your next approved payment. However, This is not automatic. You often need to reconfirm your application, submit the missing documents, or in some cases appeal the decision if your grant was unfairly denied. I can't stress enough how important it is to stay proactive during these new rule changes. SASSA is tightening their systems to reduce fraud, yes, but they are also still overwhelmed by high volumes and delays. That means you must take charge of your own grant profile. Another key change you'll notice this quarter is the push towards digital communication. If you haven't already, now is the time to make sure your cell phone number and email are properly linked to your SASSA account. Why? Because many of the new notifications, whether it's a request to verify your identity, a payment alert, or a problem with your application, will be sent directly to your registered contact information. If your details are out of date, you might miss a critical update that affects your next payment. And with the system relying more on automation, there are fewer impersonal reminders or second chances. If you're watching this and you're unsure about your contact info, I highly recommend you check and update it immediately after this video ends. Moving on to the actual grant types, let's break down what you can expect based on the category you're in. For those receiving the older person's grant, you're usually the first in line during the monthly payment cycle. That hasn't changed. What's new, however, is the stricter means testing applied to some new applicants. SASSA is now reviewing not just your income, but also any signs of shared household finances. This means if you live with working family members who support you, even if they don't transfer money to your account directly, your grant could be questioned or delayed. For disability grant recipients, the documentation requirements have increased as well. Renewals now require updated medical reports from approved clinics, and older disability certifications may not be accepted going forward. If your certificate is more than a year old, now's the time to re-verify before your payment is halted in July or August. The SRDR 350 grant, still one of the most talked about grants in the country, has seen the most rule changes. From June 2025 onward, SASSA is now requiring quarterly income re-verification. What does that mean in plain language? Every 3 months, you'll need to prove again that you meet the income threshold to qualify. For many, this will be automatic, but for others, especially those who do freelance, gig work, or receive intermittent support, you may fall just outside the allowed income for 1 month, get flagged, and then be reapproved the next. It's frustrating, I know, but it's part of the new system and the only way to ensure that grants go to those who meet the criteria at the time. Now, let's talk security. With these new changes come new scams. Whenever there's a rule change or system update, scammers use that confusion to try and take advantage of grant recipients. If you receive SMS messages asking for your ID number or bank PIN, do not respond. SASSA will never ask you for personal banking information via WhatsApp or SMS. The safest way to manage your account is either through the official SASSA website or by visiting an office directly. No third-party agent or consultant is authorized to speed up your grant for a fee. If someone offers to fix your grant for R100 or R200, that's a scam, report them immediately. Let's not forget the emotional impact of all this. For many people, delays in grant payments create more than just financial stress. They can cause anxiety, strain family relationships, and even lead to mental health issues. That's why videos like this are so important. We're not just sharing updates, we're building a community of support where you feel informed, confident, and empowered to take action. And let me tell you this, if you're watching this right now, you're already ahead of the game. You're taking steps to protect your income and your future. And remember, if you're a caregiver, a grandparent, or someone helping a loved one manage their grant, your role is incredibly valuable. Make sure you pass this information on to others who might not have access to YouTube or social media. Help them check their payment dates. Help them confirm their phone numbers. Help them understand these new rules, because the more people who are informed, the fewer people will be left behind in this new system. Before we close, let me remind you once again, payment dates are not just numbers. They are the heartbeat of your household budget. SASSA may be improving its systems, but it's up to us to keep ourselves educated and alert. The months of June, July, and August will come with a lot of changes, but if you stay tuned, keep your documents in order, and check your status regularly, you can navigate this process smoothly.